Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hyperconscious Podcast. Alan, what is hyperconscious?
Once you understand why something is the way that it is, now you have the power to change it. Great conversations with great people and great questions are the keys to the kingdom of unlocking your consciousness.
Every single action that you do starts as a thought. When you control the way you think, you will control the way you act, and you will control the way you live. That is hyperconscious. Geographically? Geographically. This is cool. So I would say make sure that pretty face is showing.
Yes, true.
They're going to want to see that thing. They're going to want to see that thing, Alan. That face. You good?
Ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of the Hyperconscious Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our latest Small Talks episode on the word influence. Today, we are going to do a Scratching the Surface episode on how to do more in less time. So, we sat down with Eddie Pinero on last Sunday's episode, and one of the things he said was he pivoted and he really focused on how to become more productive.
Right.
He realized that if he could do all of his stuff in a productive manner, he would have more downtime.
Yeah.
And Eddie Pinero doesn't really do downtime anyway, but realistically. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because I think that's something that we can all leverage in our life. Something you will hear quite often is, I don't have the time. Do you not have the time, or is it not yet a priority?
Folks, so to reference that episode, Eddie said this specifically. He said, now that I have more structure in my life, it actually has given me free time. I've actually heard that a lot, and I've found that to be true in my own life. So this is about productivity. First, before I forget, though, real quick friendly reminder to go to the hyperconsciouspodcast.com and click join, hashtag the Hyperconscious Nation.
Right.
Join the Hyperconscious Nation. You're going to get 3 Hyperconscious morning minutes to kickstart your days off right, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Folks, there's 52 weeks in a year. Imagine if those weeks were unbelievably valuable and we were in your ear influencing you.
Tell them.
Right.
Ooh.
Every single morning. First thing in the morning. Instead of social media, you've got us motivating you, getting you fired up. I enjoy them very much. I hope you do too.
My goodness, I am in.
Right.
I'm in.
You're in?
Sign me up.
Sounds good. You
Sign
go to the
me up.
Hyperconscious. No, I'm kidding.
We're all fired up because we have been, we've actually been doing, it's funny, we have been doing productivity things today.
Yeah.
You and I sat down, we did some spreadsheets, it's boring, I don't like it, I don't like spreadsheets, but we did that because, number one, we've been putting it off for a long time,
right?
Honestly, but number two, that will help us do more in less time.
Yes.
And that was not intended when we made this episode, but, so for me, I went away.
Right.
Last
you had
weekend.
A vacation,
I had
a mini vacation.
I had a little mini vacation.
Right.
Now, in order for Kevin to have a mini vacation, he has to go on a mini working spree. And he has to get everything scheduled, the emails, the episodes, everything. Everything has to get scheduled.
You do things?
I do things, believe it or not. Believe it or not. So for me, basically one day I literally sat down. I don't remember what day it was. I think it was Wednesday. I sat down and worked for 5 or 6 hours straight on just doing the stuff that I had to do throughout the week. Now, that might seem like a long time, but the thing is, I'll try to give an example without going too deep into it, but okay, so all the videos we do in Adobe Premiere.
Right.
Right? It's a lot easier to do them all at once because then I know what video's on what memory card.
Yep.
Right? I know, I'm using this template again. I know, basically, if I'm in the same spot the whole time doing similar work, I can get more work done rather than setting my laptop up.
Yep.
Getting on SoundCloud, getting on YouTube. So for me, that is a productivity hack. Get everything you can in a certain category done at one time, and you will save yourself all the setup, breakdown, and then getting into it mentally.
Right. A lot of it is the startup. So this is sort of like putting your gym clothes out in the morning.
Yeah.
Like getting things ready ahead of time. So every night before bed, what I try to do is I set up my room so that in the morning I'm ready to immediately start my morning rituals. So I think sort of what Kevin said, it's like for your office, you have an office at your place.
Yes.
The
I have
laptop is set up.
many leather-bound books.
Right.
Yes.
Ron Burgundy quote? Anchorman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you also have sort of like your workstation, and there's a big monitor there.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me in my room, I have the same deal. Like, I think another productivity hack is having your room set up where it's organized so that your consciousness doesn't feel like overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, one of the things is like, okay, so you and I realize, okay, there has to be some things that we can set up and automate, that they'll do automatically. Now, the problem is I still have to set them up
Right.
to be automated. What good does it do me to edit the podcast and upload it to SoundCloud at noon on the day it's releasing and then have it automate itself for 7? That day. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really buy me any extra time.
Right.
It just means I don't have to drop it at 7. Now, if I was to do all of that on a Monday,
Yeah.
where literally all the emails go out, you guys get your morning minutes, I do them still, but I don't have to worry about them on the day. They're scheduled from Sunday or they're scheduled from Monday.
Right.
That is an unbelievably, that is such a huge difference maker. Not even just from the productivity side of it, but the stress side of it. Knowing you have everything you need to do.
Yeah.
You know,
it's off your consciousness.
It's off my consciousness. And
Yeah.
I know you guys are getting the stuff that I promised.
Yeah.
When we say 3 hyperconscious morning minutes a week, I intend on getting them to you. You will not get them.
You've never missed.
That's not okay with me.
I've been watching.
That's
You've
not.
never
It's
missed.
not okay with me.
Yeah.
So that's also, like you said, it's not on my conscience. So I can sit down and record an episode and not have to worry about shit. I gotta get this done here. We can't go too late.
Right.
You know, it makes a huge difference. Huge.
Another productivity hack, too, that you can do is called time boxing. That's kind of what he's referencing. So, like, if you sit down and allocate an hour to set up your whole week, then it's off your consciousness that whole week, and now that's all that much more time that you have to go and do whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Again, another thing, and this, get rid of your cell phone when you're working.
Right.
Get rid of it. Whatever. Even if you want to do an hour, and I know Alan might disagree with this, but if you want to get rid of your cell phone, work for an hour, take a 5-minute break, go to the bathroom, get some water, check your phone, make sure nothing dire happened, that's fine. Right? That's fine. But even me, what are you doing over there?
Did I shut you off? I'm sorry.
No,
I
you're good.
accidentally hit
no,
the
no,
audio.
you're good. I thought you spilling coffee.
No.
Even for me, I find that if I'm texting back and forth,
Right.
I'm not getting nearly as much done. And it's hard.
Multitasking is not efficient.
It's not efficient.
Yeah.
No, who was that? Steve Ryder? Did Steve Ryder say that at the
Steve Ryder
conference?
said that no one's good at multitasking.
Yeah.
If you're human, you're not good at multitasking. Tasks, because what you're really doing is task switching. And I think I was watching a video that Darren Hardy created called Insane Productivity not long ago. And what he said is that it takes up to 3 minutes. Or no, if you have a 3-minute interruption, it takes up to 11 minutes to get back into flow, to get back into a concentrated state. And so if you're being interrupted by texts and emails and people walking in your room, that's why I'm so big on solitude. I get so much more done in so much less time. Yeah, that solitude time might suck, but it allows me to then go have more freedom in my life because if you can get more done in less time, you're going to buy yourself time, literally.
Yeah. Last night I got up. I couldn't sleep. I laid down at 9 o'clock or 9:30. I couldn't sleep.
Right.
So it was like 11:30, and I was like, all right, well, this isn't going to happen. So I got up and worked. I worked until 2:30 in the morning. Now, did that buy me time today? A little bit, yeah.
Right.
I actually got to sleep. I slept in because obviously I'm not going to get up at 4:30 when I go to bed at 2:30. But it gave me silence. There's a different energy at 2 in the morning.
Yeah,
man.
there's no possible interruptions.
I literally have to be quiet.
Yeah.
You know, so I put my headphones on, I worked, and I just hammered out work. There was nobody to text.
Nope.
I'm not checking social media. I don't care what's going on at 2:30 in the morning. If something's going on, it's probably not good. You know, so that's a huge hack. Like, I know you do the earplugs.
Yes. I am religious about my earplugs.
Some people might think that's savagery, but I've been sleeping with earplugs. It makes a huge difference.
Right.
I like music when I work because, I don't know, maybe
I have a playlist on YouTube called Concentration Music.
Yeah.
And the thing is having some sort of ritual where your space is known as your workspace. There's something about, like me at my desk, I'm habituated to when I'm sitting there, I'm working. And I don't do anything else in that spot. So like, it's like a trigger for me. As soon as I sit down, I'm just focused. And I put something on in the background, whether it's a specific YouTube video, concentration music, or I have my earplugs in. But one of the things that I wanted to say as well, people know what REM sleep is. It's not about how long you're in bed. It's about how much time you spend in REM. Darren says that there's something that he refers to as REM productivity. In other words, how long are you in a flow state where you're fully focused on one task? Recently, I watched a video of my coach, Alex Goad. He basically said there's 4 types of time. And he said that high performers versus non-high performers use their time very differently. And this is fire. The 4 types of time are deep time, distracted time, directed time, and then downtime. Downtime is like R&R. We all need rest and relaxation to like recoup and recharge our batteries, right? That can be sleep, that can be naps, that can be watching a show you like. Anything where you chose in advance, I'm going to take this time to shut my brain off, to just relax and enjoy. So that's downtime. Distracted time is any time where you're constantly being interrupted by texts, emails, phone calls, or someone coming in your room. Directed time, I have my flashcard.
Oh, yeah.
So for me,
overwhelming.
Directed time is any time where you are going into getting things done and it's consciously chosen in advance what you're going to get done. So this can be to-do lists, anything like that. Deep time is the piece that most non-high performers, Alex says, have very little of, which is basically, for me, what's an example of that? I'm writing a book. So if I'm alone in a room, only writing my book, and deep time is basically creative work. Like really, it requires all of your cognitive function. Anytime you're in a deep creative flow state, I would argue that podcasting is also deep time. It takes a lot out of us. Like when we're done with this episode, we're going to be, like later tonight when we're done with all this work, we're going to be absolutely exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So what he says is this. Non-high performers have very little deep time, a ton of distracted time, very little directed time, and they have a lot of R&R. What high performers do is they try to have at least 25% of their day on deep time, where there's zero distractions and they're working on something that requires high cognitive function. That can be writing a book, doing a podcast, creating a marketing campaign, doing a sales video, anything that requires your full cognitive function. They have a lot of directed time. They have very little distracted time. He did pie charts in this video, fire video, which, by the way, we're trying to have Alex Goad on the podcast. And congratulations to you, Alex. He's giving birth to a son.
He's
That's
giving
exciting.
birth?
I'm sorry.
Wow.
No, his wife is giving birth to a son. But yeah, so that's the thing. High performers have a lot of downtime for R&R, not a lot, like 25%. 25% deep time. Very, very little distracted time and a lot of directed time.
My goodness, that was a lot. All right, so I think it was a very, very valid point with a ton of value. So, guys, I would literally rewind and listen to that and see where you are in that. If you find yourself dealing with distracted time more often than not, you're not leveraging your time to the best of your ability. The name of this episode is Doing More in Less Time.
Yep.
So that means you have to decide how much you're getting done in the time you're allocating now. Another thing I wanted to talk about, and shout out to Alex Hinkle,
Right.
who is also going to be on the podcast coming up.
Yes. A couple Alexes coming up.
Yes, for habit stacking.
Oh, yeah.
That's something that he said that was like, oh, wow, I've never really done that before. So
You have, not consciously.
not consciously, yeah.
Right.
That's
With the
great-
gym,
great
you would
point.
do that.
Great point.
Yep.
So this is something that I always suggest to my clients. They'll say, or I'll say to them, one thing I always suggest is you practicing positive affirmations and, reciting things that you're grateful for.
Yep.
Right? I think that's a hack before bed. I think it's great.
Absolutely.
Or first thing in the morning's fine too.
Yep.
Okay.
Both.
Now, a lot of people will say, okay, I don't know, when would I do that first thing in the morning? Okay, well, let's do some habit stacking. Do you brush your teeth? Yes. Do it while you brush your teeth.
Right.
That's what habit stacking is. It's taking something that is already ingrained in you that you're doing daily and then stacking something that you're trying to build as a habit on top of it. It legitimately is a hack.
It works.
100%.
Yep.
So I just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, because what a habit is, it's something that's become completely automated. You don't have to think about it. So it's really hard to create new habits, but if you stack them on existing ones, it's absolutely huge. One for me, totally random, is I brush my teeth in the shower.
I used to do that.
Yeah, it's just...
I got an electric toothbrush, and I'm afraid I'll get electrocuted.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. From a battery electric toothbrush?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Might get like a little baby shock.
Maybe, or maybe I'll get dead.
So one of the other things that I wanted to tell people is, Jim Rohn says this. He says, you wouldn't... when do you start building the house? And then the audience is silent. They're like, what do you mean? After it's finished. He says, do the same thing with your day. So like, whether... I don't know if... For the longest time, I had these millionaire mentors that have these unreasonable calendars, okay? And unreasonable is probably the wrong word because I'm very quickly becoming like that. If you don't run your life by a calendar, I'm telling you that you don't have as much free time as you would if you did. Similar to how we started this episode with Eddie Pinero, talking about how the more structure he had in his life, the more free time he actually had. And, by the way, the peace of mind you have, once you're done with your most important tasks for the day, you have this unbelievable energy and this feeling that you've accomplished something, and now you can really give yourself the permission slip to really enjoy your R&R and enjoy your time with your loved ones and things like that. But for me, I remember seeing some of my millionaire mentors' calendars and freaking out. Like, oh my God, I don't want to live that life. Is that what it's going to take for me to be successful? Now, that said, Kevin and I kind of create our own schedules for the most part, which is a huge freedom and luxury. But what comes with that is the discipline to schedule things that we must attend, and then disciplining ourselves to always show up and not cancel them. So one thing I want to say that will give you actually the ability to do more in less time is when you first start your day, design your day. Even if it's something as simple as, what are 3 big things that I want to get done today? No matter what, I'm going to do these things. Another thing that I want to say is, if you aren't using a calendar, I would highly recommend getting in the habit of using a calendar, because you're going to find that when you schedule time to get work done, you're going to have a lot more free time in the silence between the notes.
So touching on, spit all over the place.
This is a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in this episode right now. Also, again, like, these are things that I don't always consciously think of.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when I'm able to teach, I also lock in the habits that it's like, oh, well, you should probably habit stack more.
Right.
Just slacking. So we came into the studio. We have this whiteboard that has 25 things that we have to do. And Alan said, hey, okay, let's figure out the necessities. What has to happen before we leave this room? Okay, the intro, outro, and midtro for our episode has to, okay, we have to do scratching. Okay, cool. Small talks, yeah, okay, we have to do that. All right, this. Okay. What does that do for us? Well, number one, it allows us to get rid of stuff that is not necessary.
Right.
We're not going to, quote unquote, waste time doing things that don't matter right now.
Right.
Now, that also can be a dangerous game because things can pile up, but you have to make sure, like you said, you're doing the things that are priorities first.
Right.
Those are the most important things, right? That's one thing. And then another thing, this helps me. If you have something that has to get done, think of how long you think it'll take. Because what happens is you get so overwhelmed.
Right.
A story I tell. Matt, my best friend, roommate. Okay, cool. Our front light went out. We want to replace the whole fixture on the outside of the house, right? Cool. I don't know, man. Next weekend. It's not a good weekend, man. We only have 2 hours. It's going to take more than that. It literally took us 20 minutes to do it.
Right.
It took us 1 month and 20 minutes to do it because we waited a month to do it.
Exactly. And how much of your energy was wasted thinking about that?
So much.
Right.
So if you literally want, again, a thing I do with my clients is, let's break down tomorrow's schedule hour by hour. Tell me how long you think it's going to do, or how long you think it's going to do, how long you think it's going to take to do 10 prospect messages.
Right.
You think it'll take 2 hours? Let's schedule 2 hours in. Get it done in 2 hours. Hammer it.
Right.
Hammer it. That's your time block.
And most likely it'll be less.
Yeah, most likely to be less. If it's more, then we know next time to give yourself more time.
Yep.
I mean, it sounds basic, but you would not have a reason to do it if you think your current system is working to the best of any ability. You won't have any reason to do it. I challenge you to just try some of these things and see if they make a difference. If they don't make a difference, then make some shifts and, start implementing things that do. But habit stacking for one, and time blocking, and the schedule. Like, the scheduling is huge. It's huge.
Productivity, getting more done in less time, is quite literally one of your most valuable assets. So however you serve the world, whether it's at work or as an entrepreneur, like that's going to be one of the greatest things you can do in life in terms of legacy, in terms of income. And so if you can produce more in less time, you have an advantage over everybody.
Yeah.
And that's how the economy really works. Companies are just like people. The companies that learn how to produce more with less are the ones who win in the long run. Same goes for people. So like one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was what my Aunt Joanne, one of my millionaire mentors, said to me. She said this, Alan, you can do everything you want in life, but not all at the same time. In other words, I can achieve all my dreams, but not all at once. You have to prioritize. Steve Ryder basically said this. He said that what is the one thing that you can do today that by doing so makes the other things less necessary or unnecessary? I have a dramatic reading from the book The One Thing, which is one of Steve Ryder's main mentors, written by Gary Keller. And there's an excerpt in that really helps with prioritization. Kevin and I, at all times, have a laundry list of things to do, most likely like you do as well. And maybe laundry's on there. It can be anything. It can be brushing your teeth. It can be the chores around the house. What you need to do is what Warren Buffett does. And this is, he writes out every single morning all the things he needs to get done in a given day. And then he gets rid of everything but 3 things. And then he focuses all of his attention on those 3 things. And then he throws out the rest of the list. The next day, when he remakes the list, he realizes that most of the other things weren't that important. One of the things that I want to make as clear as possible on this episode, if you want to do more in less time, you need to figure out the leverage points. What do I mean by that? In fitness, sleep, hydration, nutrition, training, and mobility. My main goal as a fitness coach, as I've said in the past, is to get them to focus on the leverage points. In other words, what are the things that they can do on a daily basis that will make the biggest difference? Since this is an episode on productivity, I want to give the listeners the Pareto principle. 20% of your daily actions are quite literally responsible for 80% of your results. Now, what if you took 20% of the 20%? That's 4%. That means that 4% of your daily actions are responsible for an astronomical amount of your results. What if you focused most of your energy there? That's what leverage is, and that's how you get more done and produce more in less time.
My goodness.
I love productivity.
I know. I think another thing that I try to consciously think myself, but also help others with is not necessarily like the light thing where it's like you overthink, the amount of time it's going to take you, so you get so overwhelmed that you don't start in the first place. But get very specific on what habits will give you the result you need.
Right.
Basically what you're saying. What can you leverage in order to get the result you need? A lot of people, including myself, will take this roundabout way of getting the result when it's just like, if I put 1 hour of concentrated time,
Right.
it's like, okay, let's just use an example. Say we don't have a guest.
Yeah.
And I need to find a guest. I need to prospect for a guest.
Yep.
What should I do? What are the 3 most important things I can do?
Oh, fire. So number 1 is find targets, people that you have a genuine interest in learning from.
Right.
And will be valuable for the listeners. That's number 1.
Okay.
Number 2 is messaging them to see if they're willing to come on the show. I think that's it.
Yeah, and then scheduling.
Right.
Or making
right.
sure you resonate
Follow
with
up.
them.
Yeah.
So the thing is, we can really, really complicate the process.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And if you complicate the process, you will not do more in less time. You will do less in more time.
Complexity is the enemy of execution.
Some people say.
Some say.
As they say.
Right.
So that's what I would say. I would say get crystal clear on, like Alan said, what leverage points. What can I put 100% of my effort in to get 100% out?
Right.
Like, what can I really focus on to get this result done as fast as possible? And that's, I think a lot of times we get confused at like, oh, wow, sing it to
Timer.
me. Oh, my.
Kevin's singing again. So, Kev, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What is something that you need to get done? And what are the 3 things that you need to give your full attention to in order to accomplish that? Here's the thing. I just want to preface this. The only way to find a leverage point is first to know the outcome you're after. Because otherwise you won't find the leverage points. So for you, what's the outcome you're after, and what are the 3 things you need to give all your attention to?
All right, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So You and I want to do more speeches.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Okay, so in order for me as Kevin Palmieri to move forward confidently, to not only get speeches but smash them,
Right.
number one, I want to write a speech.
Nice.
Okay, so for me, that is number one.
Yep.
Number two is figure out the best places that I can search for people looking for speakers. Right? That is number two.
Yep.
Number three is practice my craft. I have to make sure that I am as good of a speaker as I can, so when the opportunity presents itself, I'm ready.
How are you going to practice? Like alone?
Oh yeah,
By your
to
lonesome?
start for sure, for sure.
I will critique.
I don't want you to.
He doesn't want me to critique. Right.
But then again, that could be broken down into smaller things. Like I'm just doing the overview, but then when it comes to prospecting, okay, what does that mean?
Right.
Does that sending 5 messages a day?
Yeah.
Also trying to find different avenues. Then also trying to really think outside the box. Like where is somewhere that I can search that other people probably aren't searching?
Right.
Or what is something that I can leverage that I may not have thought of yet?
One of the things I do want to mention about that,
Sure.
you're going to find leverage points through trial and error.
For sure.
Because like you just said, you've never prospected for speeches before. So Kevin's brand new. One thing I want to say about getting more done in less time, I don't know why we didn't mention this before, mentors.
Ah, yes.
You and I had a call with a speaking expert who interviewed 3,200 event planners, and she was a speaking coach. The reason I took that call is I wanted to find the cheat codes
Yeah.
on how to get more done in less time in the speaking arena, because Kevin and I, why not go to someone who's already won the game? If you're playing a video game and I've already beaten the game and you never have, you can come to me and ask me how to get through, the water temple or whatever it is, because I've already done it.
The water temple.
I know. It's a Zelda Ocarina of Time reference.
I've been there,
I mean,
man. No, I've been there.
we're older now,
Yeah.
so I don't know if people will,
No.
because it's an N64.
Yeah, nobody knows
Game?
what that is.
Should I do the dramatic reading now?
Yes. Yeah. Tuck your tail and do that dramatic reading.
Sounds tuck my tail.
Yeah, like a puppy.
Like a puppy.
Like a
Like Shiloh,
little Shiloh.
my sister's puppy.
Podcast mascot.
All right, here we go. So this is from The One Thing. Gary Keller wrote this book. This is one of the top business books in the world. And this entire book, by the way, is focused on getting more done in less time. That's why I chose this. All right, here we go. Okay. Equality is a worthy ideal pursued in the name of justice and human rights. In the real world of results, however, things are never equal. No matter how teachers grade, two students are not equal. No matter how fair officials try to be, contests are not equal. No matter how talented people are, no two people are ever the same. A dime equals 10 cents, and people must absolutely be treated fairly. But in the world of achievement, everything doesn't matter equally. Equality is a lie. Understanding this is the basis of all great decisions. So, how do you decide? When you have a lot to get done in the day, how do you decide what to do first? As kids, we mostly did things we needed to do when it was time to do them. It's breakfast time. It's time to go to school. Time to do homework. Time to do chores. Bath time. Bedtime. Then, as we got older, we were given a measure of discretion. You can go out and play as long as you get your homework done before dinner. Later, as we became adults, everything became discretionary. It all became our choice. And when our lives are defined by our choices, the all-important question becomes, how do we make good ones? Complicating matters, the older we get, it seems there is more and more piled on what we believe simply must get done. Overbooked, overextended, and overcommitted. In the weeds, overwhelmingly becomes our collective condition. Last paragraph. That's when the battle for the right of way gets fierce and frantic. Lacking a clear formula for making decisions, we get reactive and fall back on familiar, comfortable ways to decide what to do. As a result, we haphazardly select approaches that undermine our success, pinballing through our day like a confused character in a B-horror movie, right? We end up running up the stairs instead of out the front door. That's a horror movie reference.
Yeah.
The best decision gets traded for any distraction and any worse decision, and what should be progress simply becomes a trap. The biggest thing here is this. When everything feels urgent and important, everything seems equal. We become active and busy, but this doesn't actually move us any closer to success. Activity is often unrelated to productivity, and busyness rarely takes care of business.
Well, Dave Meltzer, he does not like the word busy.
Yeah, because we can mistake movement for achievement.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Also, that was a great dramatic reading. Shout out to
Thank you.
the one and only
Gary Keller.
Gary Keller. So for me, you asked me about the speeches.
Yes.
One thing that I should have mentioned, and I didn't because I wasn't thinking of it, is in order for me to do more in less time, rather than scouring the interwebs to figure out how to write the best speech possible, I contacted one of our mentors who has a system of how you should write a speech.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, hey,
T-Mac. Shout out to T-Mac.
Right.
Yep.
Again, we have some cheat codes.
Yeah.
Because we have people who are doing what we want to do. That is exactly what we're trying to do with the website.
Right.
So that's really what it is. If you really, really want to do more in less time, find somebody who has already done what you want to do, and they will be able to cut your time probably in half.
Honestly, if not better.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing we can give you on this episode. If you take nothing else from this episode, mentors.
And my singing.
Oh, and
Yeah, don't
Kevin's
forget
singing for sure, because that's valuable. But no, seriously, mentors. They're going to help you skip steps. In fitness, Nate Smithson, going to be coming on the show
Yes,
eventually.
another one.
Eventually, another one. Lots of plugs here. But Nate, next time he's in town, he's going to come on the show. He helped me tremendously skip so many steps in fitness because he spent, I think, 7 or 8 years prior to me and him meeting in the fitness arena and learning and mastering his craft. So if you find mentors who have the results that you want, you will quite literally get the cheat codes that will help you do far more in less time. And I don't think there's any leverage point bigger than that.
My goodness.
Right.
That was fire.
It was.
I really enjoyed that.
Me too.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed recording. And if you want to head over to the hyperconsciouspodcast.com, you can get all the cheat codes that we've put up there. That is our main goal, to be mentors to you guys, as many of you as possible. And we will talk to you on the next one.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this episode where Alan and I sat down and talked about how to do more in less time. Up next, we have an episode with the super coach, Michael Burt. He is a former women's championship basketball coach, an author 11 times, an entrepreneur, a speaker, and he is next level.
At one point, Coach Burt did 41 speeches and held the world record for most speeches done in a day. He has been in the personal development industry for, I believe, a decade or two, and he's with super producers. If you want to talk about doing more in less time, this is the man to listen to.
And we had a 25-minute episode, so it is less time, but he added so much value we know you will enjoy, and we will talk to you later.
Talk to you soon.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening to another episode of the Hyper Conscious Podcast.
Going hyper-conscious will absolutely change your life, because if you understand why something is the way it is, now you have the power to change it. If you going hyper-conscious with us has changed your life in any way, please share this episode with one of your friends, because the more people that go hyper-conscious, the better this world's going to be for everybody.
And if you would kindly leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, that would help us make more people hyper-conscious, and we would be greatly appreciative.
Thank you.
Bye.